Morning, Nigel. This is an issue you've been campaigning on. We've seen record-breaking numbers. Just give us a sense of what's happening there this morning.
So this morning, a very major incident at about 4:30 this morning. 3 lifeboats scrambled just off Dungeness Point. We've heard there's one man overboard, so there is a serious incident going on in the channel already this morning. That's what we know for fact. There's been a sighting of a kayak making its way over from the French coast. That's about all we know at the moment. But what's been really interesting over the course of the last few weeks is many of the boats that are coming are launching from French beaches in the middle of broad daylight, not something we were seeing this time last year. And bear in mind, many of the people that are coming across are paying £5,000. A report the other day of a man who paid £8,000. So just think about it. You know, if the people traffickers have got a boat with 40 or 50 people in, and some of these new boats they're using are 11 metres long, one even had 70 in the other day, you're dealing here with organised crime, you're dealing here with massive money. And all that Priti Patel has done overnight is agreed to give the French another 50 million quid. That's after the 130 million quid we've given them already. And yet, despite that, what goes on every day here in calm conditions is the French Navy literally escort these boats once they've taken off from French beaches, bring them over the line and hand them over to the British authorities. I mean, that to me is an absolute outrage. And you're asking GB News viewers this morning, is the government failing on this? I'll tell you, ever since August 2019, Priti Patel, as Home Secretary, has repeatedly made big promises how she would stop this problem, and it's getting worse, and I think it will get much worse. I would predict, Darren, that at this current rate, there'll be between 20 and 30,000 that will cross the English Channel this year unless something is done.
So, in many ways, though, we need French cooperation, don't we, in order to try and deal with this? And we all see migration numbers increase across Europe at the moment. How can we get the French on sides, essentially, Nigel, and also try and tackle these criminal gangs? I mean, Priti Patel's argument essentially is this is really complex stuff and there is no easy, obvious solution.
How can we get the French on side? We've been asking that question for the last 1,000 years. I mean, that's always been a very difficult one. Look, I think the truth of it is, even if the French were fully cooperating, even if the French, and you know, we do hear reports that they break up the camps over on the Calais side on a regular basis, but frankly, I've always taken the view that there are many in France, within the authorities, who think, do you know what, if they all go to England, it's a problem off our hands. And that's why the French refused to sign a deal with us on returns. You know, we all know that ever since 1951, when refugee status was defined by the United Nations, that you claim refugee status in the first safe country you come to. So frankly, we should be sending everyone back to France on that basis. They're never going to agree to it. So we've got a standoff, in a sense. Now, Australia faced a very similar problem with Indonesia. And in 2012, the Australian Prime Minister, and he was looking down the barrel at 50 or 60,000 people coming to Australia that year. In the end, do you know what he did? The Australian Navy took the migrant boats from Indonesia under tow. They took them back to Indonesia. There was uproar about him doing it. But guess what happened? The boats stopped coming. Now, whether Boris Johnson's government has got the guts to do it, I don't know. But the only way to stop this is to take these illegal vessels under tow and take them back to France. And if we do that, if we're resolute, if we make it clear that nobody who enters the UK by this means will ever be granted refugee status, we can bring this to an end. But that will take courage, that will take political will, and I'm just not sure this government, frankly, has got the backbone to do it.
Morning, Nigel. I think let's talk short term as well here. I mean, you know, the weather is good. The seas are calm. I mean, almost 1,000 have made that journey in the past 3 days. It is looking like it is going to get worse. I mean, you know, thousands could be expected to arrive in the next couple of months, surely, especially if this weather continues and the situation is good out there.
Absolutely. I mean, the intel that I got a few months ago that the type of boats were going to change has proved to be true. So some of the boats that are coming now are 11 metres long. They're built for one trip only. They've got bits of plywood in the bottom. They're glued together. They are completely unsafe vessels. So not only are the numbers that come in getting bigger and bigger and bigger and set to continue, but I promise you this, and this is on a morning when already we've heard there's a man overboard, at least one man overboard, off Dungeness Point with 3 lifeboats there as I'm speaking to you. It is only a matter of time before one of these very, very cheap, badly built boats has some kind of disaster out here. And I think we're going to start to see at some point, I don't want to say this, but I think we will see at some point in time the kinds of loss of life that we've seen in the Mediterranean. So from every perspective, this should be stopped. As it is, the criminal trafficking gangs are making millions and millions every single week.
But Nigel, many people would say, given what you just picked up on there, and I agree, I mean, it's only probably a matter of time before we do, unfortunately, see a tragedy, that whatever you think about what is happening in the English Channel, clearly what we do not want is people putting their lives at risk. The UK takes fewer asylum seekers than France, than Germany. Many people say the solution to this is for the UK to open up some type of safe route to get to the UK to claim asylum, that is the way to deal with this, or else people are continuously going to try and risk their lives to come here.
If we're dealing with genuine refugees, and let's not forget, this country offered refuge to French Huguenots, to Jewish people, to the Ugandan Asians. I mean, we've got a much better record than the rest of Europe when it comes to helping people who are in genuine trouble. What is so interesting about this is you can look at the other broadcasters and they'll always show you a picture of a young kid or a woman. The fact is, 85% plus of those that come are young men. They're coming from countries all over the world. If the countries they come from are that awful, why on earth have they deserted all the women and children? These are not refugees. These are economic migrants in the vast majority of cases. This is a criminal trade, and frankly, it's got to be stopped. And on the loss of life issue, Darren, last October, I was out in the channel fishing. We came across a kayak. We saw it overturn. I had in my hands a young guy from Mali. I mean, he was on the verge of exposure. I thought he was going to die in front of me. So I understand the human side of this, but the way to stop people drowning is to stop the boats from coming. And those words, I'm sure, will come back over the course of the next few weeks and months as we see the inevitable disaster that is going to happen.
Nigel, out there in the English Channel, thank you very much for the time being. We're going to be back with you throughout the morning.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.